All right, so you've probably seen those graphics online, right? The ones that try to boil down something super complex into a simple, neat little picture. Well, today, we're diving into one of those. This one claims to show us the 7 types of ADHD. But here's the fun part. It's also a visual puzzle. Let's see if we can crack it together.
And here it is. This is what we're working with today. A flower-shaped diagram about ADHD. And yeah, that's it. That's our whole source for this explainer. Now, at first glance, it looks pretty straightforward, maybe even helpful. But if you look a little closer, you'll see there's a problem. A contradiction, actually. And that's exactly what we're going to unravel.
Okay, so right there in the middle, plain as day, it says 7 types of ADHD. But here's the puzzle I mentioned. As we start looking at the individual petals, something doesn't quite add up. I want you to keep your eyes peeled. See if you can spot the issue before I point it out at the end. It's a fun little challenge.
All right, let's kick off our investigation. We'll start with the stuff that probably sounds the most familiar. These first couple of petals on the flower describe what we could call the foundational types of ADHD. You know, the ones that are actually recognized by medical professionals.
So, first on the list is classic ADHD. This is basically what most people think of when they hear ADHD, right? It's that combination of inattentiveness, hyperactivity, and impulsivity all rolled into one. In the medical world, this is actually called the combined presentation, and it happens to be the most common diagnosis out there.
Now, what's interesting is that the graphic kind of breaks that classic type down even further. So you've got one petal for inattentive ADHD. That's more of the internal stuff, like your mind wandering off, feeling disorganized, getting distracted easily. Then there's another petal for hyperactive traits. This is the more external stuff you can see, like restlessness or fidgeting. The graphic also throws in the word focused here, which is a cool little nod to hyperfocus, that amazing ability to just zero in and concentrate like crazy on something that really grabs your interest.
Okay, so we've covered the basics. Now we're moving into some, let's call it speculative territory. These next few petals have labels that you won't find in any medical textbook. They're not official diagnoses. It really seems like the creator of this graphic was trying to create their own subtypes based on things that often go along with ADHD or maybe even specific brain areas. So let's see what we can figure out from these.
All right, check this one out. Limbic ADHD. What does that even mean? Well, the limbic system in your brain, that's basically your emotional center. It's often called the emotional brain. So just based on the name, we can guess this label is trying to describe a type of ADHD where managing emotions is a really big part of the picture.
And remember, the graphic doesn't give us any definitions here, so we really have to put on our detective hats. Our main clue is the term limbic system. So what could that mean? Well, it probably points to things like chronic, low-grade sadness, feeling moody, having low energy, or even feelings of hopelessness. And all of these are things that we know can definitely go hand in hand with ADHD.
Next up is anxious ADHD, and this is a really common one, actually. The idea here is that you've got all the typical challenges of ADHD, but they're cranked up to 11 by this constant feeling of worry or tension or just general nervousness.
So think about it like this. It's not just about being distracted. It's being distracted and worried at the same time. You might always feel on edge, or your brain might automatically jump to the worst-case scenario in any situation. And as you can imagine, that makes dealing with the core ADHD symptoms a whole lot tougher.
Okay, and the last of these specialized types from the graphic is called temporal lobe ADHD. So what are the temporal lobes? Well, they're parts of your brain that are super important for things like memory, understanding language, and basically processing all the sounds you hear. So, using the same logic as before, we can make an educated guess about what this label is getting at. It could be pointing to things like memory problems, or maybe having trouble really understanding what people are saying to you. It could also connect to having a quick temper, or maybe misreading social cues, all things that are tied to what the temporal lobes do.
Okay, we have officially gone through all of the petals. We've looked at 6 different types of ADHD, at least according to this infographic, which means it's time to solve that puzzle I mentioned at the very beginning.
So let's recap. The center of the flower says loud and clear there are 7 types. We've talked about classic, inattentive, hyperactive, limbic, anxious, and temporal lobe. If you're counting along with me, that's 6. So where's the 7th? Did you figure it out yet? Let's just look at the image one more time to be sure. We've looked at every single petal that has a label on it. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 petals, 6 types. But right there in the middle, it promises us 7.
And there you have it. That's the solution. The puzzle wasn't some deep hidden meaning. It was just a mistake. The infographic promises 7 types, but it only shows 6. Now, it's a simple error, sure, but it's actually a really important one. It just goes to show how easy it is for something that's not quite right to get packaged up in a neat, good-looking graphic and spread around.
So just to quickly recap the 6 types that the graphic did show us, we had the officially recognized ones, like classic, inattentive, and hyperactive, and then it mixed in these unofficial, more speculative ideas like limbic, anxious, and temporal lobe. But the real takeaway here isn't the list itself. It's the fact that a single flawed image can just throw fact and fiction together and present it all as if it's on the same level.
And this whole thing, this little puzzle, it leaves us with a much bigger question to think about. I mean, this graphic, it's eye-catching, right? It's easy to understand, and it might even be a little useful for just thinking about different traits. But that simple mistake, that missing 7th type, is a great reminder to always be a little critical. When we're talking about something as important as our own health, our own minds, how much do we trust a simple picture we find online versus what the actual science says? What really gets lost in translation when we try to squeeze something so complex into a simple little flower that's missing a petal?